when there's something like this that just does not jive. Yes, practicing is awkward. Yes, scripting is awkward. Yes, improv is awkward. Yes, public speaking is one of the things that people are more afraid of than dying. Frankie, I am not the world's best salesperson. I teach sales. I love sales. I train in sales. It's super fun, but I'm not amazingly good. I let my systems do the heavy lifting for me. Are they going to become qualified with 42 minutes of extra time of not working on their business? No, they're not going to become qualified in a sales call. A sales call is for selling, not for qualifying.
All right, you beautiful, attractive, sexy motherfuckers. I am excited to bring you back. Another exciting journey into our agency growth. I brought on our man, Jeremy Pope of Sales Call Overhaul, who likes to call himself the Chief Flounder. And firstly, Jeremy, thanks for coming on and doing this.
It's my pleasure.
And we were just having a cool little chat off air for you guys, and we were talking about, like, we both went through this phase in our journey of what we were taught of what I call like douchey selling, where it works and you're getting clients, but you kind of feel just like a douche and it's inauthentic, and you're using these tactics and you feel like you're manipulating people, and often it's either you learned it from some coach or some mentor, or you see it working for people, but at the end of the day, it doesn't feel like you. But there's a tendency to think you got to be this way to make the sale. So Jeremy and I are here today to shatter that idea. And I'd love first, Jeremy, if you're open to sharing just a little bit of your journey through douchey selling into more of what, we kind of described off air as a giver style, a more collaborative, what I would call like a doctor frame. And it blows people away because it's a zero pressure selling, and people think, how can you sell in the absence of pressure? But yeah. I'd love to hear just a little bit about your journey and how you kind of went through that whole. Tell me about the douchey phase and how that's kind of brought you to now.
Well, for me, the douchey phase was more of an uninformed phase and then anytime I had a manager that was telling me how I had to sell, they had scripts and they were kind of douchey scripts. And it was annoying, and I got in trouble for changing the scripts on the fly. Yeah. So I resisted that hard enough that it was, I kind of stayed out of the high pressure stuff, but it was very difficult. It was very difficult to stay out of the high pressure stuff because everybody was telling you this is how to do it. You've got the Russ Brunsons, you've got the Russ Ruffinos back then. You had the Grant Cardone extreme pressure Scientology style selling sort of stuff. You've got so many the Jordan Belfort Wolf of Wall Street, that I know a fair number of people that idolize that man, even though he's scamming people to this day in Australia and in the US. Like, he hasn't reformed. So there's all kinds of stuff that you can buy that's very high pressure things. I think I started learning how to sell after I started selling. Yes. So I started selling to lawyers door to door, wearing a tie in 98 degrees South Georgia summers.
And humid as fuck on top of that.
Yeah, seriously. I always said it was 98 degrees, 98% humidity, and 2% mosquitoes. Yeah. And I got out of there as soon as I figured out what I actually wanted from geography, and North Carolina is it for me. So I'm happy here.
Can I just add though, like real quick, I don't want to cut you off entirely, but just for those of you guys who've been through it, it's a total blessing and a curse, because usually when you're going through the phase Jeremy is describing, you're actually financially winning. Like, you're making sales following these douchey scripts, but like something about it just doesn't jive with you. Anyway, sorry, please continue.
Yeah, that's one of the tricky things about it is you do the thing you hate and you win. And it's like, oh, am I just wrong? Am I wrong for hating this? Am I flawed on the internals? Like, do I have bad beliefs around this stuff? I'm telling you, no, 100% no, you don't have bad beliefs around this stuff. when there's something like this that just does not jive. Yes, practicing is awkward. Yes, scripting is awkward. Yes, improv is awkward. Yes, public speaking is one of the things that people are more afraid of than dying or heights or things like that. So there are things that feel really weird as you get started. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about, you know, enough about what's going on. You've had enough success to to know, no, this is real. This does not align with my personality. This does not align with the way I want to operate. And a lot of people, they have to build some experience to get to that point. It's not an obvious thing from the beginning, because at the beginning, they don't know how much they hate it even. So I'm kind of here for more for people at the step 2, where they're like, no, I'm confident this is not aligned with me and the way my business and my brand should be operating. So I call it adversarial selling or high pressure selling.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that exact thing, because you had some slides. Any way you could show people, because I think actually,
I can just share these on screen. Yeah,
if people really understand the difference in mindset of where you're coming from in those two places, the difference between adversarial and what you call it, like kind of collaborative or giver style, like to me, that is the first and most important step, is like understanding. Like,
I think so.
The frame you come from. Dusan Jukovic in I forget the name of his book, but he calls this
The Power of Habit.
Your stance, your internal stance.
Oh,
the place you're coming from that you interact with people.
Straight line leadership.
That's the one.
Yeah. Dusan, I knew him way back when, actually. I was very surprised to see that book with his name on it. I was like, oh, buddy, good. He was a hypnotist. He was an NLP practitioner. So I was a clinical hypnotist for 10 years. And that's kind of where I got my start with what I call my $1 million ear process, learning how to listen to what's actually going on in somebody's head and what metaphors they're using internally. It makes an enormous difference. So adversarial selling is high pressure tactics. It's competitive. It's win-lose. Like, I'm
going to a couple slides down. You had the arrows. That's the one.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. Pushing against someone or pulling against someone. It doesn't have to be a tug of war, like tugging the decision over a certain line.
Yeah.
And the big thing here is that the high pressure stuff, it looks like winning, but it's so hard to make it line up with the delivery.
And by the way,
so hard.
I can just say that, so my first agency was largely a white label agency. And we had this guy I call Native American Fabio, and he used to go to basically every plastic surgery conference. Like, he was on the road 300 days a year, going to every conference. And what he would do is, like, say he was in Atlanta, he would go, who have I met at conferences in Atlanta? And he would drive over to their office and essentially like kick the door in and like, I'm not leaving until you buy a website. And he was like 260 pounds of like muscle. And he was like kind of like a mean drunk. So he looked like he could just beat the shit out of you. So it wasn't easy to just physically throw him out of your office. And what nobody talked about is in an agency group, it's really cool to show screenshots of Stripe payments and signed a new client. We had lots of those. But man, all the shit you're describing right there, the buyer's remorse, the refunds, the chargebacks, because it would almost always, his sales ended in one of two ways. Way number one is they bought the website and they had the buyer's remorse, and they would often refund and charge back because they didn't really feel good about it. Or two, they would like literally call the cops on him and be like, Rick, get the fuck out of here. Like, if you don't leave, we're not buying a website, get the fuck out of our office. We got a business to run. Right. And nobody talks about like how much more difficult it made the delivery journey after. And we were still able to do some things to overcome that. But man, like, it just started the whole thing on the wrong foot, and you're chasing it all up. So I just wanted to add, because like I have a lot of real life experience with what you're describing right there. And it's like, that's what adversarial selling absolutely creates. And you see this, by the way, really nowhere is this more prevalent than the timeshare motherfuckers. Like, there's a whole industry of people who are like trying to get out of timeshare contracts, and lawyers and all those kind of refunds.
There's now a predatory industry around getting people out of timeshares. Yeah. Like predatory promises of being able to get you out when they actually might not be able to get you out. Like that's become a predatory industry as well. It's fascinating.
You gotta love two levels
turtles all the way down,
selling, right?
Yeah. So when we have this kind of thing, the adversarial selling, whether or not the decision is good for the client, the new client, you still are coming from a, I need to beat you personally. I need to beat you. It's a poker game. I tell people, look, if you've got a script or a call flow that you're using, or a logic structure that you're using in your calls that you would be afraid to share on screen with your clients, with your prospects, you are using the wrong mindset in that script, in that structure, in that process, in yourself.
And that's most of our world, by the way. I call it,
Yeah.
Looking at people like a credit card with legs, or where essentially you're essentially just trying to use words and tactics and those kind of things to pin them down, wrestle the credit card out of their hand, and kind of get started. Go back to that slide where you had the collaborative thing. That was,
you like that one, don't you?
I do. I love it. It's to me, like, I had a mentor explain it to me. It's the difference between sitting at the table versus them where you're on opposite sides and you look at them as something to be conquered, versus like, let me put the chair around to your side and tell me how you see it from here. And I'm on the same side of the table and I want what you want. And even if that's not me, I'm going to point you in the best direction. So
100%.
So it's like, I'm in collaboration with whatever your goal is. That's my goal in this moment.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what that is.
Now, I'm an extreme example. I'm a decent salesperson. I mean, I've done a fair number of sales, but all this stuff here that I've got in this card here, this is because I've got good systems, not because I'm naturally a good salesperson. I've got charisma. I know how to talk. I know I'm a 4, just looks based. So I had to learn how to talk, but it's not natural talent. So I had to develop systems. I can't prospect for shit, dude. I can't prospect at all because I can't build a system that feels good to me. And I'm just, you could say I'm weak around that, or I'm fragile, or I'm just too ADHD to make it happen. I've had to develop so many systems to support myself in ADHD and in the internal stuff just to make myself do the things necessary for business. And it's allowed me to get a much deeper insight because my problems are so much bigger than other people's problems are. So it's very much a mess into message journey. But one of the things that I say, there are no magic words, only magic feelings. This is the Maya Angelou type of thing. People won't remember what you told them, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. That's the beginning of that journey. Do you want a collaborative journey with a client? You know, there's going to be bumps in the road with an agency client. I mean, it's a messy process, right? Unless you're providing an extremely small productized service, which is fine, but you might not be on a sales call if you're selling something very small, very automated there. That might be more of an automated sales process too. So,
and by the way, I just want to stop here because I get more questions every single day of my life that are essentially like, what are the magic words? And I always compare it to like pickup artists that are looking for like, what's the magic phrase that's going to get her to throw the underwear at you? And I'm like, I hate to break it to you, but there is no one magic phrase that just works on everybody. But if you actually care about them and their interests, you'd be amazed at how people open up to you and tell you all the shit you want to know anyway.
You know, one of the things that we could do, I'm gonna talk for just a second about something that's not on my normal slideshow. So magic feelings. What does someone have to feel in order to buy and buy happily? What do they have to keep feeling in order to stay long term? Those are the set of feelings that you care about right there. Those are your magic feelings as an agency owner. And I've coached many, many agency owners in various ways, in other people's programs and one-on-one. But this stuff, like, you're never not selling. Like, I'm selling to you right now. I'm not paying a lot of attention to selling to you. And I believe I'm giving you what you want in this recording, you know, but there's always an influence process going on. There's always a sales process. leadership, is management, is sales, is persuasion, is influence, is coaching, is pastoring, is romance, is parenting. It's all the same thing. Like 50% of sales, it overlaps with every other type of sales. And then the other
Recruiting
stuff is
too,
technicals and the funnel, right? So this stuff here, these magic feelings, you can literally chart these out and say, okay, have I got the feeling yet? Have I made the right feeling yet to get them to buy? And that's a powerful question you can ask. Do they have the right feeling in order to buy right now? If not, keep going. I mean, that's pretty much how that works. It's such a simple equation for sales. There's only about 2 things that you can really accomplish on a sales call, and 2 things you can do on a call. One is build desire, and that's the pain, passion stuff a lot of people talk about. And then 2 is reduce fear of risk. This is where guarantees, testimonials, social proof, all the proof elements, that's just reducing fear of risk. So you can put gas in the car and you can increase the horsepower of the car and you can get the car over bigger bumps and put bigger tires on it, but you can also reduce the size of the bumps in the road. And I found a tremendous number of newer salespeople, people closer to the beginning of their journey, they focus extremely much on one of these. And I would say probably the newbies in the giver mindset, like not the people who kind of have a natural talent for sales. No, that's not even the right way to say it. Not the people who are brash, not the people who are maybe even overconfident about their abilities, but the givers
Usually
who
I
may
find,
be
by the
dealing with
way,
input. What's that?
a lot of the guys who are like the brash are usually like 18 to 24 males, and and then a lot of the kind of types, you know, that I work with, I'm not saying are exclusively, but you know, they've been around a while, they often have families and things like that, and they're
once somebody's grown out of the 22-year-old alpha male wannabe mindset, that's when we start to get the more mature people. But if they're new to selling, if they're coming out of corporate, they tend to focus on reducing fear of risk. You can't stay there. You can't stay there. That's important, but you also have to build desire. And so those 2 things, if you do those 2 things to the appropriate levels on a sales call, you've got your sale. That's it right there. And I talk about the transparent triple close, but there's one technique that I like to teach that changes everything really fast. And I know I'm not going to over popularize this technique because nobody likes using it their first couple times. It's deeply uncomfortable the first couple times you use it.
Could I just say we are of the same school of thought, because I've heard the same myth for a bazillion years. You never mention the price until the very end, until they contextualize it. And so I did a lot of that. I am now of the opinion that the reason why most people don't put their price up front is because they can't articulate the ways in which they're different. And they have a lot of what I call me too offers. And so for that reason, they have to wait till the very end of the call. But a lot of times in those calls, the little points of differentiation come out and why it's a little more or why it's a little less. And the more you can understand those things, the more you can just create upfront pricing. And for us, what it's enabled us to do is, like, I don't even talk to anybody who's like at minimum less than 7 out of 10 on the idea of working together. And a lot of people think if you just get booked appointments, it's awesome. And like, I've had it where I've had 100 people on my calendar that are like 1 out of 10 on the idea of working together. And yeah, you can close them in a sales call, but I'd much rather just have them know what the price is and only talk to the people who are not deterred in any way by that and still want to talk to you and are 7 out of 10 and go, I want to hash out those details. And then you end up having like less calls overall, but like way better conversations and more conversions out of it, because you're talking to people who know the price. There's no secret. So you're, like you say, like there's no fighting at the end of like $7,000. Holy shit, 7,000. I wasn't prepared.
Exactly.
They already had the heart attack before they got on the phone with you.
Right. Speaking of heart attack, that's what the price upfront technique. I often say that kind of thing during it. But you've got the right of it there with I am funnel agnostic personally. There are a lot of different funnels that can work, but what's most fun for you and what fits your business model the best and the phase of your business. If you can get your marketing to do almost all the selling for you and turn your salespeople into order takers, the closer your salespeople are to a cashier, the cheaper your client acquisition is to run, guaranteed. Because you know your systems are really on point by that time. You know your marketing is really dialed in by that time. So your goal as any kind of business owner should be to turn most of your sales force, your frontline sales force, into the least expensive version of a sales force that you can run. You want your numbers to work, and you want to systemize that as much as possible. The more expertise you need in a salesperson, the more money you're going to pay for that salesperson.
Not only that, the harder they are to find and the harder it is to scale. Like I was, if you run a burger restaurant and you depend on finding the next Gordon Ramsay to run it, you're going to have
you're done.
Bitch of a time.
You're done before you start.
But if you have like a McDonaldized, systematized process that really like any pimply faced teenager with a little bit of work ethic can step into and do, you can build however many 100,000 stores they have across the planet and get consistency across it, because it's the process and the marketing, the branding, and everything that comes before that. And so, like you said, they're order takers. McDonald's doesn't depend on you, like the guy having a super killer sales knack and a consultative skills and been trained in Grant Cardone's 10X. It's just like they're just order takers at that point. And I think that's a really good metaphor for an agency, because the more you can create like an order taking kind of thing and have your marketing on point, it just scales better. It always scales better than always dependent on like super high skill salesmen. And I've had some awesome ones over the years, like a couple who may even be watching.
Totally.
But man, like you don't feel super secure when you're like overly dependent on your like superstar salesperson. You're like, am I paying them enough? What if they just disappear tomorrow? What if they want to go do their own thing? Like your business can go to shit in a really short period of time if you're dependent on like super high skill salesmanship.
Yeah. So here's the process I use to begin McDonaldizing your sales calls while you are on the phone or on Zoom or on whatever, and that you can teach to your people very quickly. Will you role play with me for a second, Jason?
Let's do it.
I mean, Frankie, Jason, where did that come from? Okay. I'm seeing my friend Jason's texting me about dinner tonight.
Yeah.
So, Frankie, I am not the world's best salesperson. I teach sales. I love sales. I train in sales. It's super fun, but I'm not amazingly good. I let my systems do the heavy lifting for me. Do you mind if I don't try and be smooth on a sales call about our sales team A-Day process? Do you mind if I tell you the price right now at minute 4 of our sales call, will you stick with me for the next 40 minutes and find out if it's actually a good fit? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's cool. Cool. That'd be better for me.
There you go. Nobody ever says no. And then, so I've gotten one commitment right there. I've got a yes. If they're qualified, then if they run away screaming after this, that means I got something badly wrong in my funnel, or they're missing an integrity piece, like the way they run their business. I'm not saying they're unethical. I'm just saying they're missing some integrity if they run away after they make that promise right there. You just promised me 40 minutes, right? So it's not a micro commitment. It's practically a trial close,
Yeah.
So cool. All right. It's $18,000. Now I can relax. Do you need to run around screaming or have a heart attack or anything like that? Are you okay?
That's probably more than I was planning on spending today, but we can certainly talk about it.
Okay. Well, let's talk it through and let's see where we get. Done. That's the technique. Now, you gave me the middle answer there. You'll get one of 3 answers. Yes, that's in range, or that's more than I expected to spend, or some version of that could be tough, or I don't know. And then, nope, can't do it. That means if somebody gives you a nope, can't do it, that means you have a qualification issue and a self-qualification issue. You're not getting people through the right marketing funnel to be able to do that. You're getting leads that should have been DQ'd already on this sales call.
I
So-
say, by the way, there's a hidden metric in every funnel that people talk about click-through rates, and I hear my kids yelling in the next room. That's part of the joy room.
Attention is the currency, right?
It is, are the right people coming through the system? Hey,
Yeah.
honey, you gotta go talk, you got hurt, honey, you're gonna have to go show mommy because daddy's, okay, can you guys go play in your kids' room for 10 minutes and I'll come get you? Okay, she wants to make some fart noises, so it's getting serious here. You
All right.
please continue while we're making fart noises over here.
Okay, that sounds good. Please make the fart noises at the appropriate times to accent my points. Okay, that's the really the thing that I really care about. So it does a few different things here. One of them is that it is very different from what anybody else does on a sales call, or what almost everybody else does. What 95-ish% of all other salespeople do on sales calls. And it's not an I give up, throw up your hands, here's the price, decide. Like that can be its own defeatist sort of attitude. This is an engaged, I just got a promise from you. And then I usually ask it something along the lines of, okay, do you need to run around screaming? Or are we good? Is that even in range? Should we keep on talking? I usually ask another question, another promise right after that. Should we even keep on talking?
Yeah.
And then I'll get the answer there. And so that gives us, if they say yes, that's in range, we are about 60% closed, just a little over halfway closed at minute 4 of the call.
Yeah.
Like it makes it so easy. It
By
turns,
the way, I'd say like 60, 70, 80% of sales calls are them just curious to find out the price. And when you mention the order taker, it's an obstacle to order taking if I got to sit through 90 minutes sometimes for you to just tell me how much it is.
There's that. So it changes your mindset. It changes their mindset. It puts you both into collaborative problem solving. It gives you an immediate shortcut to trusted advisor status because you've just been vulnerable with them. I'll tell a self-deprecating joke. Hey, I am not the world's smoothest salesperson. Hey, I'm pretty cheesy and I get enthusiastic and I act like the Spanish Inquisition sometimes, but I'm not actually an amazing salesperson myself. I can train the shit out of you for your own sales, but I have to have really good systems around me to make this work. Do you mind if I just I will like straight up just lay it out there how I am as a salesperson. And I'm very comfortable and confident in myself as a salesperson and as a business owner, but like, I don't have to have an ego around it. I don't have to be amazing at anything in order to serve people well. It's about them. It's not about me. And so you get this trusted peer from the beginning when you do this kind of thing, because they know you're not holding back on them.
Yeah.
Then you also get 2 commitments. You eliminate the money objection later on in the call, unless they've told you that maybe that's more than I expected to spend. Now at minute 4, if they give you the maybe answer, then you know you've got some work to do around finances or financing. Like if you have a payment plan or if you have a financing option like Grant Eilertson or whatever financing program you use, you can start thinking and start working on that problem immediately instead of waiting until they tell you, oh no, it's too much. And if they tell you that at the 57th minute of a call, you've got 3 minutes to problem solve together. Why would you do that to yourself and to them?
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing, people decide with feelings. So do we want them to have time to rationalize their feelings? I sure do, because I'm going for healthy feelings and healthy decisions and growth-based decisions.
I'll tell you, the real gift of time is, as you mentioned, occasionally somebody disqualified gets through, and the way a lot of people do their funnels, like 80% of the people may not be qualified.
Yep.
And imagine you got to, like, how do you feel after you've spent 60 to 90 minutes with somebody that you find out at the end of it is fucking broke? Right? Like literally
it's easy to be resentful of your prospects if you have a bad funnel. Don't let your process make you resentful of your prospects. Yeah. It's not their fault. It's your process's fault. Fix the process.
Which, by the way, you're speaking from experience as well. I've had that too, right? I remember actually there was a point where we were, like I said, I can actually remember when we were in Germany, I had a funnel that was quote unquote working so well that I was booking 8-9 hours of calls every day. And I
Uh-huh.
would go to German school during the day, and because of the time zone difference in Europe, when I'd get home at
Mhm.
3, like business was just starting in America, and I would have calls some days till like midnight, like from
Yeah.
3, I got home, and they would all be back to back, which is super draining. And I would find
Mhm.
out by a lot of them at the end of it, it was broke, like just broke people. And not understanding in those days that I just had to, like you described, fix my process. And what ends up happening is exactly what you described. You start resenting doing these calls and
Yeah.
talking to these people, and you never feel like you're getting anywhere. You start to doubt your own sanity. And I've realized now that just having a better engineered process that brings you 3 of the right people is better than hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of the wrong people.
Yep.
And so I see all these offers out there like, we can fill your calendar, we can get you so many fucking booked appointments. And if you've actually been in the trenches, you're like, who gives a shit? Like, I want the right people on the other side of the calendar
Yeah.
that, like you said, like aren't going to be like $18,000. Oh my fucking god!
Right. Right. It's pretty straightforward stuff when you know what to look for.
Yeah.
Let me see if there's anything else that I want to hit on here. Yeah, should we keep talking? It's $18,000. Should we even keep talking? Like, this question comes out a lot of different ways. I say it a little bit differently every time, but that's pretty straightforward. If you want to get into a servant leadership mindset, if you want to get into a method that, yeah, if you're focused on servant leadership and serving people truly, then you're going to get yourself out of imposter syndrome. You can't be focused on yourself and focused on them at the same time. So if
Yeah.
you've got any anxiety around selling, if you've got a new offer that you haven't proven out or something like that, serve, and you're going to get out of your own head way more easily.
Yeah. You almost always, when you have all that kind of mental trash about sales, you're
Yep.
thinking about the sale and what you can gain, and not enough about them and what they're trying to actually do. And like you said,
Yeah.
is the minute you take your focus off of you and what you can gain, and just, even if just temporarily, just put
Yeah.
it on them and what they're trying to do and what their goals are, you'll find that you don't have the capacity to be self-absorbed with, I can make a sale, and you have to kind of like just be in the moment with that person
Yeah.
instead of like
I've
thinking
found,
about like, I could get a credit card at the end of this.
yeah, probably 70% of the founder coaching that I do, I've got sales coaches on my team that do the zero pressure coaching and stuff like that. And I do sales coaching. Founder coaching is more where I hang out. It's just, you pick at the thread on the sweater and you unravel it, and you have to follow it wherever it goes. It might go into operations, but I find that probably 70% of the time, if it's not just a mechanical quick fix, it's a beliefs issue specifically. Like, not just mindset in general, but beliefs. What are the actual beliefs?
Yeah.
And I found that I can make spreadsheets about the beliefs that people have. I
Yeah.
know that's the geekiest thing you've ever heard
Well,
someone
we're all
say,
geeks here,
but
so that's
you
totally
really
cool.
can do it. Yeah. So you can make a spreadsheet about your beliefs, and you find these belief clusters that, well, for instance, the reason people have trouble with the price up front technique. Let's lay out some of the beliefs for the things that we've done. I do belief
Usually, by
buster
the way,
sessions with
beliefs,
people.
for those of you guys
Mhm.
who are looking to find your own beliefs, they come in the form of should or have to. Is when you say, well, I have to wait till the end of the
Frequently.
call, or I
Yep.
should do this. And usually beliefs are like, come, like I say, like when you start using your own language, you'll notice say should or have to. And that's usually the place where you want to like question that and see if that's actually true.
That's a great place to question. Yes. The I am beliefs, I can't, I always, so any kind of generalization
Yeah.
often
I'm
displays a
no good
belief.
at, I don't.
Right. I am no good at. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Another thing that you can do with beliefs when you're flagging these, and these are really hard to notice yourself, but you can ask a spouse, you can ask a business partner, you can ask an employee, even like, when you hear me do this, let me know. Coaches tend to be better at this than other people, but it's a skill anyone can learn. Well, I'm just no good at sales. I don't mean to say that I'm no good, but, and then they'll walk it back, but they already said it out loud. The first thing they said, That's the belief right there. That's the one they actually feel. And the rationalization over here is what they feel like they should feel instead. And they're trying to justify themselves to you as a conversational partner. But the first thing they say, almost always, and they'll say it 2 or 3 times in a conversation in various ways if you're in the right conversation. And so you could, when you spot those accidental, it's like in the interrogation world, the police, the evidence world, an excited utterance that is admissible in court almost no matter what, because it's indicative of their mental state. Like you should treat it that way.
So just like
we do our belief,
the quiet part out loud, for sure.
Exactly. Yes. Saying the quiet part out loud. Yes. And people don't even realize they did it almost all the time. Like you have an X-ray into people's heads available to you when that's why I call it the $1 million ear. It's like sonar or a sonogram kind of thing. I mean, you can see the sex of the baby sort of thing when you just know where to press that device. Like you can hear exactly what's going on in somebody's head and their decision structure and what their blockers are. You can hear all that stuff if you're just listening for the right things. And so these belief things, here are a few of the ones. I'm afraid that I often get people to put it in terms of I'm afraid that, because it really clarifies things and it helps people deal with it in a way that they go, oh, why am I afraid that? Oh, that's kind of silly. Like if you can get yourself to the, oh, that's kind of silly feeling, not just the thought, but the feeling of, oh, that's kind of silly. You're a long way towards solving that belief.
Usually once you become aware of your beliefs, that's the first step in changing it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big normal spot. So I'm afraid that if I say the price up front, they'll run away. Okay.
Or they'll find out I'm selling something.
Exactly.
This wasn't just hey, I'm going to help you out 45 minutes on strategy.
Right.
They might find out I have something for sale. Like, well, no shit. They knew that.
Yep. I'm afraid that if I tell them the price up front, the prospects I have coming through my funnel are not qualified enough to buy. Are they going to become qualified with 42 minutes of extra time of not working on their business? No. They're not going to become qualified in a sales call. A sales call is for selling, not for qualifying. You always are qualifying, yes, but that's not the point of the sales call. And so they're not going to become a different person that can versus can't buy in the course of the next 42 minutes. That's not a thing. People don't operate that fast. So I'm afraid that my prospects aren't qualified enough. That's a legitimate fear. And you have to face some hard truths about your funnel, about your prospecting, about your whatever. Like that can be a scary thing. And usually when I'm doing coaching, I tell people, lean into the hardest thing in your business. What's the hardest, scariest thing in your business? Let's de-risk it. Let's make it not so hard. And let's make it so you're not afraid to look at the big blind spot over there, you know? I mean, why would you have something in your business that you're afraid of? Let's make it not fearful. So I'm afraid that something's messed up in my business, so I can't do the thing I really want to do. That's a big deal belief a lot of people have. I'm afraid that if I tell them the price, I'm not good enough at sales and I'll scare them off. Okay, so I'm not good at sales is the belief there. All right, well, we can deal with that kind of thing. Start dealing with it on your own. But I mean, there are a lot of ways to deal with this stuff. I'm afraid that if I'm transparent with people, they will see I don't really have much going on. I haven't found that to be the case. I found that the more transparent I get, the more people connect with me and the more people stick with me through tough stuff. Like the bigger of a bump it allows you to weather in a relationship. I mentioned, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago that God had freed me from a porn addiction on Facebook specifically because I was in a place mentally where I was like, okay, so you know what? If I'm ashamed to talk about God's freedom, that means I'm still kind of dealing with some of this stuff. does that mean I need to talk? I kind of think it does mean I need to talk about it. I mean, that wouldn't be everybody's answer, but it was my answer for that. And so I talked about it, and I got like, I don't know, 100 comments on the post, or it was one of the mega posts of that year. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. So now I'm the porn guy on Facebook. Great. Yay. Just how I wanted to be known. Right.
Wait till the retargeting ads start showing.
Exactly. Exactly. So I was scared that it would mess up my ads. I was legit scared it would mess up my algorithm and stuff like that.
I know we're real human beings in there and we're not perfect. They won't.
Exactly.
They will love us.
But it was a healing thing. It was part of my process for like letting go of the final pieces of that. And so it was very healing. And I hope that I helped some other people with it. And who knows, maybe somebody sees it 3 years from now and they call me up and I'm able to minister to somebody else in that same thing because of what I was willing to put out there. But you'll find very similar things
on porn sites. You're far from the only one.
What's that? I didn't
hear. If you've ever seen the view counts on porn sites, you're far from the only one.
Oh yeah, dude. Even in churches don't deal with porn very well. Yeah. I mean, it's a pandemic of its own.
Yeah.
So anyway, most of the fears, if you are using a servant's heart, you can start dealing with your fear, like turn your fear to armor by exposing it to your prospect. You know what? I'm afraid that if I X, you'll Y. Is that going to happen? And they'll tell you, no, of course not. And they might mean it and they might not, but they've given you verbal permission to talk about the thing now.
Yeah.
And so that elephant in the room mindset is a big giver process. Pat Lencioni talks about this in his consulting sales book. He's a guy that wrote 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. He's got like a dozen books and I've got all of them and I love all of them. He is one of my favorite business authors. And his book is called Getting Naked. And he talks about the consulting sales process that they teach at the table group. And it's all allegory. It's good stories, or it's decent stories. It's not the best fiction in the world, but it's decent stories. And it's the same kind of thing. They just kind of admit, oh, we can't really handle that. Like if I admit that I can't handle Google ads just as well as I can handle Facebook ads, I might lose this prospect. So fucking what? You would have a miserable time delivering for that prospect if you're not good at Google ads. Refer.
Yeah.
Go get.
There's an assumption in there that everybody thinks closing every sale is better than not closing every sale. And you are kind of alluding to the fact that like you actually got to deliver on this shit too, and not everything you would want to fucking.
That's the point of the business. The point of the business is not sales. The point of the business is delivering what you've been paid for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So go find 3 people that provide Google ads in Frankie's group. Like you've got plenty of other agency owners to network with that have different specialties than you. Go network and find 3 people that you can coordinate with. Or Frankie, do you have a white label service for some of this stuff?
We do have a recommended provider.
Yeah. Okay. So go get Frankie's recommendation. Yeah.
We got people that can do it.
Yeah. So go get people who can do the thing and then sell based on that or refer out based on that or however you want to do it, but don't sweat it. Don't try and provide things that you're not really well equipped to provide. And you're going to have enough trouble in your business without asking for it. You don't have to beg for trouble. It will come to you.
Yeah.
Make things easy on yourself, both in your head with your beliefs and externally with processes that support a giver's mindset, that support you in a good, healthy relationship with your clients that you keep for a long time and who will stick with you through weird market conditions and staffing problems that you have, staffing problems that they have, supply issues for their medical devices. Like how many clients turn off their marketing because of some bump in the road? Like, great, but I mean, you're probably not going to unpause a client. 75% of the time when a client says, let's pause, they mean, let's be done.
Yeah.
Or they end up meaning, let's be done after 2 weeks of being like, I feel pretty much the same. I feel okay without Frankie. I feel okay without Jeremy. Let's just be done. Let's just not go back and spend all that extra money. So you don't want people to pause. You want people to stick. And starting transparently, starting vulnerably, starting in a giver method allows you to have real relationships with people, should you care to do so. And it allows you to retain clients far, far better. Every time that I have risen through the ranks of a proper sales organization, and I've done several, I was always number 1 through number 5 salespeople, 50 to 500 salespeople. I was always like very near the top. I was placing, I was meddling, but my retention was way higher than the number 1 number. Like anybody who beat me, they had shitty retention, high refunds, high chargebacks, and their absolute numbers may have got me beat by 12% or 18% sometimes, but
Okay, I'll fix it in just a minute. I think we're gonna have to wrap up here shortly.
yeah, that's a good place.
Come here,
I beat them every time on retention because I acted like a giver. And you can do that too in your own agency. Nobody's forcing you to do things a certain way in your agency. Find a process that works for you in your agency, and you'll be a lot happier.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, especially too, because not enough people think about the retention relationships. Just a quick story on that. Where I remember the first time I got hired for like a really bigwig lawyer to consult, and he flew me in and they wanted to know, like, what do you think of my SEO for real as outside eyes? And they actually hired me because I did SEO for a decade, but had stopped doing it. And so they're like, you're the only one who can give us an honest opinion because you don't have a horse in the race to sell us.
Sure.
And I got to the end and my recommendation is like, you needed to fire this company like, 5 years ago kind of thing. And I was like, you're essentially number 1 spender in your market and everything. But in this, you're like number 10. And that boggles my mind because you have so much press and media and TV and you have awards and bursaries that you give to colleges and university. And I was like, why did you stick with this guy? And I'll never forget his answer. And people like, the young 20-somethings will say, just get results, man, just get results. Clients will stay forever. And his answer always surprised me. And he told me they were paying him $10K a month and they had been with him for 10 years. And I'm a good math guy. So I quickly went 120,000 a year times 10 years. They paid $1.2 million for SEO that hasn't worked. And he said, well, he's my golfing buddy. Every second Friday we go golfing. And that shows you how much of this is actually relationships. And so when you start it with the intention of a relationship, like people will stick with you through hard shit, even if like you're giving them, in this case, like substandard SEO, they still might pay you $1.2 million. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying
I get it. Yeah.
So anyways, Jeremy, just because I got to go because the kids are being kids here.
Family first. Yeah.
Tell us about Sales Call Overhaul, how we can get into your world, what we can check out, what the next move is, where we can get some more.
Sure. So the best way to check out all my stuff is mentalmodelmonday.com. That's a newsletter that I'm finally getting through my crippling anxiety on writing. And I am publishing it will be weekly as soon as I'm fully systemized. It'll be a weekly newsletter that teaches a mental model each Monday and shows you how to make good decisions quickly and how to get out of your own way and unblock your big moves. It's for growth mode entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And that'll take you, salescalloverhaul.com. That's the sales consulting stuff. Mental Model Monday will kind of get you into that ecosystem as well. So yeah, go sign up for the weekly newsletter. And as soon as it's weekly, you'll be getting it weekly. Right now, it's more like every other week while I work through my own shit, right?
Well, you just put it out there, so now you got to make it. That's part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Consistency, Cialdini 101.
Yep.
Okay, cool. We'll put some links to that. I appreciate you coming on, shooting the shit with me, and thank you for some awesome graphics. I think for people who really take this collaborative versus adversarial mindset and apply some of the stuff you talked about, like it's a different game because now when a prospect asks you, can I just ask you how much it is, you don't try and deflect that question. Yeah. You don't try and objection handle. You just reel with them from start to finish, and you can just be you. So I think that's
and you're real with them as you extract promises from them.
Yeah,
like they're working it the same way that you are. They're working collaboratively with you. Like, if I tell you the price, will you stick with me? Yeah, absolutely. Like, you're getting a promise there to stick with you. So yeah, it's fun.
Appreciate you, brother. I'm going to go check out what the kids are screaming.
Likewise. Have fun.
Guys, if you like this video, you're also going to want to grab some free bonuses, which you can get at our website, Beyond Agency Profits. To make it easy for you, I've put the links to it in the description of this video, as well as pinned in the top comment. And we've got a couple of awesome things. This is what you'll get after you sign up. You get some of our best training, how we're closing clients over Loom videos, how we sometimes sign clients that is not a misprint for under $5 US, how to demonstrate your value in like amazing ways, trainings, how to have your clients write the best copy of your life, how we're closing without phone calls, campaigns that we've generated for clients that have done over $100,000, as well as scripts you can use to get conversations going with clients in under 10 minutes. All you got to simply do is go there, enter your name and email address, and then this is what you'll see on the other side. So if that's interesting to you, make sure to click the links below, and I will see you on the other side.